Mr. Timekeeper, you ready? Go. Hi, I'm Bill Sargent. I'm running for Congress. And what I'd like to do is, first of all, thank the leadership for inviting me here. I'm happy to be here. I've spoken to groups like this before when I was in Washington, when I worked for the Bureau of Export Administration, when we dealt with export controls. And I'm happy, always happy to talk to the business community. Let's first start with what the things you all wanted us to cover. For the waterway, it makes all kinds of sense to me. As I think John said, we're talking about the Panama Canal being widened. We have some place to put those ships. We don't want them to go to Norfolk or Portsmouth. We want them to come here. And it doesn't make sense to have all that product being shipped across the Allegheny Mountains when you can go straight up the middle of the country. And we need to do everything we can to strengthen that infrastructure. I'm 100% behind that. It means jobs, it means economic opportunity down here, and we need that. The XX, the Keystone Pipeline, again, same thing. The environmental concerns have been dealt with. We need to do that. We need to move forward with it. And finally, you asked for my question about my vision of the district offices and working with local and state officials. I don't know a whole lot about things like some of the issues that affect you all, because I'm from Galveston County, but I can learn. And when I was in the Navy, I had one thing we learned in the Navy was, if you don't know, you find out, and that's what I'm dedicated to do. I do know a lot about congressional offices, however, because I worked in them. And there are two different ways a congressman can set up his office. One is to have in Washington your legislative assistants, your caseworkers, your chief of staff, your public affairs person, all of that in Washington, and then send one person down to the district to be down in the district to take care of your constituents. That's one approach. That's not my approach. My approach is put the caseworkers down here. I want to be able to let you face a caseworker in the eye and say, here's my problem. I need help. There's no reason why a caseworker can't work from down here and get the job done just like you will in Washington. But I want to have access for you all, for my staff, when I'm elected. Another thing I want to do, in Galveston, the congressman's office is in the federal building. You got to go through all kinds of security to get to it. That's not the way I want to do business. What I want to do is, when I come back to the district, I want to go to a coffee shop. I'm going to say to everybody, I'm going to be at this coffee shop from 9 to noon. Anybody wants to come by, have coffee with me, talk to me, I'm available. I want complete access for people. I want to talk to you one-on-one, hear what you have as issues, and see what I can do about solving them. Now, my my wife, Jean, over here, 35 years, they're going to still live in the district. My intent would be to be in Washington on the days you have legislative business, normally Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I would fly back here, and I would be back here every weekend that the legislative calendar lets me do that. I'll be back here, and I'll be in this part of the district, and I'll be in all parts of the district, and I'm going to want to meet with you all. Not just for a big event, but because I want to be able to talk to you. I want to be able to have you have access to me. Too many congressmen don't do that. Too many congressmen stay up in Washington and get a big head and do what they do in Washington. Ted is not one of those. Okay? But, that's what I'm about. It's about service. Service to you as the individuals. People who are the business community. Okay, that's my vision for the office. Let's talk about who I am real quickly. I'm a family man. As I said, my wife Jane and my daughters live here in the district. I'm a deacon of my church. I've worked on Capitol Hill and worked in congressional affairs and legislation for over 20 years. Folks, I've seen what a congressman lives like. It is not a pretty picture. Okay, your time is not your own. You have everybody trying to get at you. It is not fun. It is not something that a person with their right mind would aspire to, although I am aspiring to, because I think it's important that we change things that are going on in Washington. I've had enough of the lying that's going on to us. I'm going to cut spending, and what do? They cut the increase. You don't cut spending. They cut the increase. Tell us the truth. Come on. I've worked for 2 congressmen, I worked for 1 senator. I've worked for the Commerce Department in Washington for over 18 years in legislation. Primarily my focus was on international trade legislation. Most of that work that I did related to helping the business community promote exports, find exports overseas, and also try to help them live within the regulations that we have. That's what was important to me, to be able to do that. Let me tell you one quick story at the end, because I know my time's getting short. There's a person who wanted to run for this office but chose not to. The reason they chose not to is because they didn't think that as a freshman member they would have they'd have to carry water for other people. This is a true story. Back in the 1860s in California, a man was elected to office, to Congress. He went down to the Panama Canal, or Panama wasn't a canal then, went across the isthmus, went back up to Washington. That man was befriended by a lobbyist from the Big Four, the railroad interest in California. He introduced a piece of legislation as a freshman member. That legislation was the Transcontinental Railroad Bill. That bill passed. That man was my great-grandfather. A freshman member can be effective and if they'll work with people and work together. My name is Bill Sargent. I'm running for Congress. I'll be over there if you want to talk to me. I'd love to talk to whoever wants to talk to me. Bless you all. God bless America.